So, what would you little maniacs like to do first?
Hey, Lashy Kids and Driving Mutants. Or today I should say, Anyan Haseyo if you're new here. If you've been here before, Domo Haseyo. And also konnichiwa, because today we are going to check out two programs from Korea and from Japan. Sorry for the delay. There were some things I wanted to go over because I was given a little bit of research to do. Let me check out the comments. And let me remove this banner as well. Lordrin says hello to you, Lordrin. Tony Man asked what took so long. A little bit of research. And yes, I do have a curler in my hair, but there's a reason why I have a curler in my hair. I'll let you know in a little bit. Hey, Terrence, how are you doing? Thank you for staying up so late because I know it's very late over where you're at in the UK. I've not seen any of the shows yet. Oh, no. But I still get a thumbs way up. Thank you for that. Tony T says, hi to all. Mafalmi says he's listening. Thank you. I appreciate that, Mafalmi. Curly Girl says, hi, Lady Shasha. How are you doing? Terrence says, hello, everyone in the chat. And Bob says, I have an article that lists all the events in the Ju-on Origins that's based on a true story. Oh, I would love for you to send that to me. Let me think. I'm going to put my email. I'll put my email and you can send it to me. Echo Cero says hello. And Tony Man did guess it, dressed like some movie or show I can't remember. See, that tells me that you did not watch the first episode of Hellbound. There's a character. She's a little badass little girl in Hellbound that keeps a curler in the front of her hair. And there's a reason for that too, I found out. Terrence says, hi, Lady Shosh, I will need to head to bed very soon as I've worked. Yes, I understand, but I definitely appreciate you stopping by. I do, on Terrence, on Tuesdays, I do these at 4 o'clock my time, so that would be 9 o'clock your time. So hopefully you'll be able to stay for next Tuesday's live stream. Bomb says, okay, I was just going to copy it in the chat. Very well. I'm doing better considering, well, America is Americaning again. Or I should say USA is USAing again, because Canada and Mexico are also part of North America, but they don't have the same issues that we have here. But I'm here to take our minds off of that. Thank you for looking forward to Tuesday. Let me get ready to share my screen so we can get into. Um, First, I got too ambitious. So even though the title of this video says episodes 1 and 2, I'm only going to do just the first episode of both shows, because I got a little bit ahead of myself and a little too ambitious with the episode thing. So I'm going to start with Hellbound. And let me just set this up so we have some visuals. Curly Girl said, I love both shows, but you hardly remember Ju-on Origins. I got to rewatch it. Hellbound was wild. Yeah, I just rewatched the first episode of Ju-on again today, because as much as I enjoyed it, it was kind of forgettable, except for one particular episode, and we'll get to that one. Tony Man said, I watched the whole boring series. Best part was the bus scene in the first episode. I didn't think the series was boring, but you know what? To each their own. I respect your opinion. Let me share screen. Actually, yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that first. Let's do the screen share first, and then I'll come back to. There we go. Here, that's better. Just reorienting that. Okay, starting with Hellbound, and I took a lot of notes on Hellbound. This is one of the reasons why I switched it to just talking about the first episode instead of the first 2 episodes, because so much happened. Okay, Terrence says, I remember seeing the trailer for Hellbound. It looked very crazy. Tony says, I couldn't watch Ju-on. I tried to, but I got freaked out in the complete dark. Got to watch it in the daytime. I agree. I cannot watch Ju-on during the night. I have to watch it during the day. Bob says, sorry if I'm quiet. I'm watching Chucky with my dad. It's no problem. I'm actually going to be covering that on Monday. I'm going to, on Monday's stream, I'm going to talk about Stranger Things, because that drops tomorrow. So I'll talk about the first episode of Stranger Things, and I'm going to start reviewing Chucky. I watched the whole series, but I want to rewatch it because it was one of the best series of the year, oddly enough. Brian Renard says, going on. Hey, what's going on, Brian? Welcome to the stream. Okay, so in Hellbound, I'm going to start spoiler free, because so many people have said in the chat that they didn't watch it yet. But some of the pictures, well, the poster is kind of a spoiler. When you look at the poster, you see that there's creatures there. So that's kind of a spoiler. And they kind of spoil it in the trailer. So I don't know. It's hard for me to not spoil it. But I love the opening of this because it gets right to the point. It starts with a gentleman that's in this coffee shop, and he's looking super, super nervous. At the very same time, at a table adjacent to him, there's these young people, and they're watching this live stream. And the live streamer is part of like a religious cult. And he's talking about how you'll receive like, not like a premonition, but like, I don't know how to describe it. Like this entity comes and tells you how much longer you have to live on Earth. So if this entity comes and tells you 3 days, then you have 3 days before you are done for. And so they're watching this live streamer talk to them about it, and they're discussing whether it's real, whether it's fake, whether it's a hoax, whether it's just, CGI. And all at the same time, this gentleman is sitting here at this table sweating bullets because he has been visited by this entity and told what specific time of day that it's time to, punch his ticket out. And so he's holding his phone, looking at the countdown, and you see how he looks. He looks stressed. Then now I can't say this is a spoiler because this is literally within the first 3 minutes of the first episode. This is what I'm describing, the first 3 minutes. So these big ass creatures rush him in the coffee shop, and somehow he's able to get away momentarily. This dude makes it halfway down the street before these things catch up to him, and they pretty much do this to him. Now, what's kind of cool about the whole sequence was, number one, it's gory, and you know I love gore. So as soon as I saw that, that was a plus to me. As far as, like, one creature grabs him and smashes his face into the side of a bus, and then, like, how do I describe this? Smears his blood and brain matter across the side of the bus. And it was just, for a TV show, I mean, it was live, like a live action version of what's that cartoon that comes on Amazon? Invincible. It was like how the cartoon violent sequences are in Invincible, but in live action. That's how this dude was treated. The other thing that I found out about this show is that it comes from a webtoon. And the webtoon is, I think it was Bob yesterday that told me, that was based on some of the elements, and this are based on a real Japanese cult that's called, I wrote it down, the cult. And I'll get into that a little bit later. But what was cool about seeing this being based also off a webtoon is this scene right here where the creatures are standing over him. It's almost like a direct remake of what you see in the webtoon. And by the way, if you are interested in reading these webtoons, most of them are free to read. You just get the webtoon app on your phone or tablet, and you can either, here's how it works. You can either pay to get the whole entire webtoon given to you at one time, or it releases every issue once a week. So to read it for free, you just have to wait once a week to read each new issue to get through the whole series. But if you don't want to wait week by week, you can pay to have access to everything. So there's two tiers. You can read it for free, or you can get it all at once if you pay. Let me take a pause to look at the comments. Terrence McGuena asks, is Brad Dourif back as Chucky? Yes, he certainly is. And Bob Gunter answers as well. Yes, he's back as Chuck, and he's great. Terrence says, I don't mind spoilers. Curly Girl says, and those first 3 minutes were wild. Like, what the fuck, LOL. Yeah, I agree. Like, I was iffy about the show until the first 3 minutes. Then I was in. Looking like the Hulk chasing him. Tony says, I don't remember much gore after that. Maybe time for a rewatch. The Hulk. I actually wrote, where did I write my notes? I described what they looked like to me. I think I said they looked like not the Hulk, but Abomination. I think I said they looked like a cross between Abomination and Venom. I think that's what I had originally said. Not quite Junji Ito looking illustration, but still creepy. I'm not familiar with Junji Ito, but I will look into that. Tony Man says, ashy abominations. Yes. Now, as they're pretty much sucking his life force out of him, the CGI looks really, really good in this. I actually, now that it's funny that earlier this week we were talking about Morbius, the CGI for this TV show looks better than the CGI that was in Morbius, and that's very interesting. Sony, you have money. I know you have money because I have a Sony TV in the living room. It's not just for your movies. You have all these products. I know you have money. Why did you not spend it on Morbius? Terrence says, I'm ashamed to say, but I was terrified by the old Hulk TV show. I was not terrified by it, but it was one of my favorite shows when I was 4 years old. Like, that was my show. And then I saw Wonder Woman, and I loved her too. And at that age, I did not know that they were two different companies. I didn't know that Wonder Woman was DC and the Incredible Hulk was Marvel, because, like I said, I was 4 and 5 years old. But those were the shows back in the day. Yeah, of course. I think Terrence and I are probably around the same age. This also looked good because they show different states of, him getting his life force sucked out of him. And then this was the aftermath of that. But then there's also, I think there was another picture. Yeah, before he disintegrates. He kind of looks like this. Well, all the people, when they catch up to you, this is what you look like before you disintegrate. And then you're just like a spot on the ground. And Terrence says, Snap, Wonder Woman was a big favorite of mine. Yes. Linda Carter's waist was snatched. And her hair, too. Let me get into some of the characters. Okay. The show follows several characters. One of the main characters is this detective. Let me put the cursor around him. They're holding him back right here. His name is Detective Jin. And he's one of the main characters that's investigating these deaths because no one believes that they're actually supernatural. He's trying to prove that there's got to be something going on that is explainable. Another character in this is his daughter. What's her name? Heejin? Yeah, Heejin. She is a little bit estranged from him because of, well, two reasons. One, the loss of her mother, because her mother died tragically, and they're both grieving that tragic loss. She's grieving the loss of her mother. He's grieving the loss of his wife, and they're unable to connect. But she's also being distracted by the aforementioned cult because she's watching the videos on YouTube, and she's being just like how things are in real life. Like a lot of times we see these wild ass videos on YouTube, and us as adults, we're like, oh, that's some wild shit. That's crazy. But sometimes you have to think, well, what do young impressionable people think of these videos? Are they taking them too seriously? Are they believing these people just because it's on YouTube? Or do they have a sense of knowing what's the BS and what's not the BS? I always wonder that. And that's also why I try to be careful in how I carry myself on this platform as well, because you never know how young a person is that's watching you. You don't want to put forth anything negative towards them. Back into the characters. Another main character is a lawyer named Min Hae-jin. She is gathering information on another incident that's related to the one that Detective Jin, and there's also a younger detective named Detective Bae that are working on this case. The other character that this show follows is this single mother who, this is what it looks like when the entity comes to you and tells you how many days you have left. And this happened to happen while her children were wishing her happy birthday. And that's why the little boy is recording, because the little girl had the birthday cake and she was singing happy birthday, and he's recording her sing happy birthday to their mom, and the mom blowing out the candles. And then the entity appears looking like straight out of the ceiling, and it's like, you have, I don't remember how many days it was, maybe it was 3 days, 7 days, something like that. And that's when they actually have visual proof of what's happening. And she takes that to the police station. This is the single mother right here, and she's talking to the lawyer and the detective about what she saw, and she shows them the video. So they're really trying to get to the bottom of what is this thing that's telling people how many days they have to live, and telling them they're sinners, that these creatures are going to come and get them and drag them to hell because they're sinners. Check out some comments. Just like the vampires in Life Force. Yes. Tony Man says, I was a Dukes of Hazzard in live action in Spider-Man TV show. Yes, we all know. It's funny. A lot of us were Dukes of Hazzard fans before we even knew what that flag even represented or anything. We just thought, oh, that's a cool car. These guys are jumping through the windows and they're outrunning the police, and Boss Hogg always falls in the mud. Another one I remember watching with my cousins, us sitting on my aunt's floor and watching Knight Rider. And I don't even know whether I watched that now as an adult. I feel like looking back on it, that show wasn't as exciting. Like, I feel like to kids today, they might be bored by Knight Rider, but we were just like, it's a talking car. And I was mentioning it the other day because we just recently put the little, I don't want to say her name because she's going to start talking to me. The Echo Dot lady is in the car now. So it's like we all, and when you plug it into the car, it has a little light that goes back and forth like this. And I know they designed that after Kit in Knight Rider. Tony Man says, "Ah, yes, you're jogging my memory back with this recap. Giving me Ringu vibes with the whole countdown to death. Yes, yes. No, what's funny? The first time I watched Ringu I had watched it before, and then I rewatched it with my sister, and this is no, I swear to God, hand to God. Right after the movie finished, the phone rang. And I was like, the timing, oh my gosh. I don't remember who called, but it was just the timing. And then you just are sitting there for a moment like, oh my gosh. Terrence says, I expect that's the only similarity. Yes, it's not, this doesn't have a ghost girl in it or anything like that. It has several layers. Tony Man says, what would anyone do knowing the exact day and time you're going to die by ashy demons that beat you to death? I don't know. Aya Shadow. Hi, Aya. Welcome to the channel. Aya says, I remember sitting with my grandpa and watching Airwolf. I remember Airwolf. That's the one with the helicopter. My brother used to love that show. I think I almost can hear the theme song in my head. Quantum Leap was my favorite show, Tony T says. My mother used to watch Quantum Leap, so that was on in our house, and I don't remember a lot of the episodes, though. But I do remember the guy with the cigar. I remember there was a guy with a cigar that was always talking to the main character. Curly Girl the Moon says, yeah, definitely Ringu vibes because of that. And she also says, LO, my friend called me on purpose after I finished Ringu. No, that is funny. Brian says, have you seen the new Ninja Turtles? Michelangelo is the only one living and he's 52. And April O'Neil is 53. No, I have not heard of that. It's hilarious. Let me go back to, let me check my notes. The next, I talked about the single mother. I didn't give her name. Her name is Park Junja. And she's, trying to deal with the impending, her impending doom, basically. And I'll wait to tell you that. Something happens at the very end of the episode regarding her that's wild as hell. This is another character who is sort of the leader of a cult. His cult is called the New Truth, and he's named Chairman Zheng. And they're really, really focused on the concept of punishment and sin. Like everything he talks about is about sin and punishment and how you're going to be punished for your sins and such and so forth. Now he's one cult leader, but then there's like a tertiary minor cult underneath this cult, if that makes any sense. I'm trying to describe it. It's like he's yeah, I would say he's the leader of the main cult, and then underneath him is this other guy who they call themselves the Arrowhead, and they're kind of a part of that cult, but they're more extreme because they believe that you should punish sinners right now, like by beating the crap out of him. So he's got all these young kids that follow him. Obviously, he's live streaming. People watch him, like this. And he yells about Arrowhead and about punishing the sinners. And like what they really do is they literally look up people who've been arrested, and then they try to find them even before their trial and beat the crap out of them or beat them to death in some cases. I think there was one story that the police officer was talking about how the Arrowhead youngsters had caught people and beat them and burned them alive and stuff. So he's all on, he wants to beat the demon creatures to punishing the sinners. It's really, really wild. I will tell you this. I said yesterday that this show is dubbed into English, which it is. But if you get the chance, rewatch his scenes in Korean because the actor is so much better. Like this actor, when he's yelling about Arrowhead, it sounds so much better in Korean than it does in English. I think just because the voice actor didn't put as much oomph into it as the actual actor. Let me make sure I'm not repeating myself, but I might be repeating myself. I said that both cults share the same ideology, but I'm not sure whether I mentioned both cults share their ideology through live streaming content. Okay. Brian says it's called Ninja Turtles The Last Ronin. I will look that up when I get a chance. Tommy says, I used to have the Japanese one missed call ringtone on a cell. Freaked people out. Yes, I remember that. The Arrowhead people are crazy. Yes, they are. Yeah, that dude was so extra. Not a fan of dub movies, much prefer subtitles. Well, with this, you can choose. That's one good thing about Netflix. You can choose to watch the dub version, or you could choose to watch the subtitle version. They have both. You just have to go down, arrow down, and it'll show you the options. I watched it dubbed because I was taking notes, and it's really hard for me to take notes when I'm reading subtitles. But this is my second time watching it. The first time I watched it with the subtitles. And Tony Man agrees with Terrence. Now, the way this ends is very interesting. It's kind of a very impactful ending because you would think that the natural ending would be with the police officer and the lawyer trying to help the single mother figure out what's going on. No, the ending of the episode is that a TV station has approached her and wants to film the last few minutes of her life to see if those creatures are real. So they want to film it live at the time of whatever time has been predicted for her. See, I'm trying to avoid certain words because YouTube standards are really odd right now. I wish they would just give us a list. Like that, the dumbest thing is just give us a list of the words we can't say, and then we'll know what we can say and what we can't say. I hate that. So I have to talk in circles to avoid saying certain things so I don't get in trouble by accidentally doing something without knowing that I'm not supposed to do it. It's a clusterfuck. Okay. I will say the first time I watched this, I did go into it blind. I had not seen a trailer for it, which is good. It was more surprising to me watching the first episode. But rewatching it, I did look for the trailer just to see what was in the trailer and also to prepare for this live stream. I'll say I wrote in my notes that this is a mystery thriller. The mystery appears to revolve around supernatural elements, and there are scenes of violence by humans and creatures, which I did describe with the Arrowhead teens. There is a lot of blood, but not so much gore. Only the first episode shows some gore. The majority of the episodes aren't very gory, but they can be bloody. You do have to pay attention to the dialogue, though, because when people are talking, it does add up to something. So it's not the type of show you can really play with your phone and not pay attention to. Although I don't think you will want to play on your phone after the first 3 minutes. It's pretty engaging. Also, this only has 6 episodes, so it's a pretty quick watch. And episodes, they vary in length. Like some are 48 minutes, some are only 30 minutes, some are an hour. So they pretty much just play with whatever amount of time they need to tell the story. I believe they did the same thing with Squid Game. And one last thing I noticed, this was directed by Yon Sang-ho, who was also the director to Train to Busan. So if you really like Train to Busan, you might also enjoy this. I do have a few spoilers, so be forewarned with that. The first spoiler I wrote about was that the police chief says to bring in the creatures first. And I was like, how are they supposed to arrest the creatures? Did you see? Let me go back to the picture. The police chief says to arrest these beings. How? How are you going to arrest these? No, that was funny as hell, though. It will be interesting to find out how the New Truth formed and also how the Arrowhead formed. And also if these monsters come from another dimension or is it purely spiritual? It's unclear right now. Now, I do want to get into 2 things. I'm going to stop sharing this screen momentarily to share a different screen. Let me see if I got through all of my talking points that I wanted to talk about with this before I Yeah, that was the end of that. Let me look at some of the comments before I go to my next little section. Okay, I think I said those. You guys are agreeing with each other. Very cool. Tony Man says, I saw a recent Korean movie where they went to some village to do a reality show and the girl got possessed. That sounds familiar. That sounds familiar. I might have seen that. Can't remember the name. Curly Girl says, just imagine them trying to hand off the creatures, though. Handcuff the creatures, though. Yeah, exactly. You don't even have handcuffs that size. Zip ties wouldn't. I don't even think zip ties are even big enough for that. And you have to stop them from beating you to death in order to do it. Yeah, we need answers. So many things were left unanswered by the end. Yeah, and I do hear that there is a second season being prepared, but I have to check out the webtoon because the webtoon probably is further along than the TV show. Tony Man says, I felt the show should have ended with the first religious dude in the classroom. Well, the series hasn't ended. I think this is only season 1. I think that there's going to be another season. I don't think this is the complete story. Here we go. Now, I mentioned to you guys about what one of the characters who's this little bad. They didn't have a screen grab of her. I only basically used whatever pictures are available on IMDb. So I didn't have a picture of her, but the curler in the hair seems to be a thing in South Korea. I didn't know that. I'd seen this character with a curler in her hair. And I'd also seen there's a movie called The Witch Part 1 on Netflix, and there's a character that has the curler in her hair there. Why is it doing that? Share. There we go. Here we go. Let me take this down. Make sure the audio is up on this. Well, it's subtitled anyway, so.
개인 시간 아끼기 위해서 하는 거니까 딱히 뭐 흉볼 것도 아닌 것 같고.
좋게 생각하지는 않아요. 못 내려고 약간 티내는 것 같고.
제 지인분들이 그래요 하면 솔직히 야외 쪽에서는 좀 하지 말라고 부탁할 것 같긴 해요.
본인 몸에다가 하는 거니까 상관은 없다고 생각해요.
And you can see the girl just there with the roller in her hair.
적어도 좀 TPO에는 맞춰줘야 된다. 이런 관계가 좀 잡혀져 있는 그런 장소 같은 데에서는 지켜야 된다고.
같이 공부하는 학생들이나 교수님, 동료들한테 약간 예의에 벗어난 것 같다는.
저는 자유롭게 해라. 다만 너가 강의실이나 또는 사무실에서는 좀 자제를 해라.
Even at work. The way that I look at this is kind of like their version of how in America we see the ladies out with bonnets. And we don't really think anything of seeing a person out in a bonnet, but really you only wear a bonnet to sleep in.
보여줄 수 있는 어떤 수단으로서 헤어롤 자체가 내포한 제품의 의미가 기능성 측면에서 좀 상징적인 측면도 부각이 되고 있기 때문에
Shout out to Korea Now for posting that little video. But that's why I have the curler in my hair and also the Adidas on. Although she didn't have an Adidas tracksuit on, she had on Puma, but I don't have a Puma tracksuit. So this is what I had to do a half-ass cosplay. Tony Man says, what was it called? The Wailing? My grandmother was a trendsetter back in the 80s with the rollers in public. That is funny. No, the Wailing was a different story. That was a village that was plagued by what appeared to be like possessions, and they blamed it on this Japanese immigrant. And I won't tell you how it ends because that would be a spoiler, but that's a pretty good movie as well. I know what the movie you're talking about, but I don't know the name of it because I remember seeing it. Didn't someone get dragged underneath the cabin also? Like it felt like almost like a Korean version of Evil Dead in a way. And then I'm going to share another tab thanks to, I think it was Bob that told me yesterday about, Tony says yes. Bob told me about this Om cult, which also figures into the Hellbound storyline. I believe, well, Bob said that he believes, and I agree with him, that this cult may be based off of this other cult in Japan. And I'll only play a snippet because I don't know about this particular company. I don't want to get dinged for copyright, so I'm going to play like a tiny, as small a snippet as possible without getting kicked off the live stream, hopefully.
By the slopes of Japan's sacred mountain lies the rural retreat of a sect known as the Om Supreme Truth. It's here, in this picture postcard setting, that a 20th century nightmare became reality.
Even their name, they call themselves the Om Supreme Truth, and the group in the TV shows call themselves the New Truth.
3 months ago, sarin nerve gas was released on the Tokyo subway during the morning rush hour, choking and blinding 5,500 people, killing 11. The attack, we now know, was part of a much larger plot aimed no less at overthrowing the Japanese state and starting a world war. These are the people being held responsible. 6 years ago, a near-blind acupuncturist, Shoko Asahara, founded the Om Shinrikyo, or Supreme Truth. The religion is a blend of yoga and mysticism, with bits of Buddhist, Hindu, and Christian teachings thrown in.
You cannot get me to join a cult with these masks.
Sales point, though, was a claim to levitation.
Yeah, that's called hopping. But you guys get the point. Let me stop that screen because I don't want to get in trouble. If you want to watch the rest of that, that's on the Journeyman Pictures YouTube channel, and it's called Japan's Strange and Deadly Insurrectionist Cult. The video is about 16 minutes long. There's also a 30-minute video with an interview with the cult leader's daughter. Let's see here. Bob says The Medium is the movie, right? I'm not sure if that's the title, but that sounds right. Terrence says, love to visit Korea just so I can get on board the Soul Train. That's funny. I was tempted to say the Soul Train. Tony says, Terrence, you get a rim shot for that one. Nice tie to both shows. The gas attacks the cult did are mentioned in Ju-on Origins at some point. Ah, I didn't know that. Or I should say I don't remember that because I did watch that whole series, but I didn't have this in mind. But now since I'm rewatching it, definitely. So, and let's see, Bob also says their leader is the prime example of in the land of the blind man, the man with one eye is king. Yes. Now I'm going to get back into Ju-on. So let me put my screen share up again. I don't have as many images for Ju-on because honestly, their IMDb page didn't have a lot of images. Oh, why did I do that? There we go. And that's my Terrence says, right on that note, I better get out of here. Don't want to be like a zombie at work. Good night, Lady Shash, and everyone in the chat. Best wishes to you all. Best wishes to you too. Everybody also check out Terrence's channel. He does movie reviews and he also does some musical song covers I've seen recently. So check him out. He really, really has a great understanding of film, and I think you guys would really enjoy his reviews. So check out Terrence's channel. Have a good night, Terrence. All right, so we're going to get into Ju-on. Let me get my notes because I took a couple notes on there too. It's sad that I have to take so many notes, but my memory is just so bad. I hate that my memory is so bad. Okay, Ju-on Origins centers around this journal. Well, I believe he is a like a journalistic writer or investigative journalist. That's what I meant to say. He's an investigative journalist named Orajima Yasuo. Sorry. And he's helping this actress that's also pictured here. Her name is Hanjo Haruka. And they're trying to get to the bottom of these strange occurrences at her house. And she has actually moved in with her boyfriend because her house is just too haunted, basically. What I like about this character of how do I say his name? Orajima. Orajima reminds me of Forrest Whitaker. Like literally, he's like a Japanese Forrest Whitaker, and I love it. It also follows this young girl, and her name is Kiyomi, and she is a new student. That's why her uniform is different. She's still wearing her uniform from her old school because she hasn't gotten her new uniform yet. And this is her first day of school. She's meeting new students, and it follows her story as well. Unfortunately, she has a lot of tension between herself and her mother, who is very abusive towards her, and also alludes to previous abuse that she suffered that her mother actually blames her. Like, how do you blame your child for being abused by someone? That is just so messed up. But that's what Kiyomi has to deal with, and also being in a new school. And her mother, like, pretty much blames her for everything. It's really, really bad. Now, I mentioned Haruka and her boyfriend Tetsuo. Tetsuo gets haunted by this lady who looks like she's holding an infant wrapped up. And it's not explained yet who she is, where she comes from, but the scene is really, really creepy with Tetsuo and Haruka at home in his apartment. So it's like the spirit followed them from Haruka's house to his apartment, which is creepy as hell. Now, of course, the kids are curious about that house, so they sneak into the house. Which, you know, if you're familiar with Ju-on movies, there's always how it starts. Somebody ends up at that particular. It's like the Ju-on house would be kind of like the Japanese version of the Amityville house. Like when you see someone go into the Amityville house, you know some stuff is going to happen. And there, if you see the house from Ju-on, you know some stuff is getting ready to happen. Now, here's the rub about the situation. They invite, is it Kiyomi? I almost started to say Hiromi. Kiyomi. They invite Kiyomi with them to go creep into this house. But unfortunately, it's like a setup for them to assault Kiyomi. And I would say trigger warning for this, because it is not shown, but it is alluded that they set her up to be S8. And you don't, like I said, it's not shown, but you hear her yelling, "Let me go." And you hear that there's, a boy in the room getting ready to do something to her. So the two girls literally set her up to be S8, which is really jacked up. Now, here's the thing. Although they don't say in the series at this point in the first episode, I think these are two different timelines that they're showing us. I think the timeline with the investigative journalist and the actress is a different timeline than the timeline going on with Kiyomi. I think the events that we're seeing with Kiyomi happened before the events that are happening with the investigative journalist. It's almost like eventually it's going to come together and we're going to find out that he's actually investigating the aftermath of the events that are happening with Kiyomi. Or I should say, this is most likely the impetus for the story, because if you know the story of Ju-on and why it's called The Grudge, it's about unquiet spirits, and spirits are unquiet when they've been done wrong or when they've died in a horrific way that leaves them not passing over to the next realm because they're seeking vengeance. And obviously what happens to Kiyomi probably will turn her spirit into a grudge spirit that seeks vengeance. That's what I'm thinking. Okay. Let me check out the notes. Do I have another image there? Yeah. Curly Girl at the movie, says Japanese Forrest Whitaker. Yes, he really, the way he moves, the way he talks. Well, I can't say the way he talks because, yeah, in Japanese, the way he talks, but also the voice actor, if you're watching this dubbed, because this also comes in a dub version, also has like a Forrest Whitaker sound. Does her mom tell her about wire hangers or tell her that they're going to laugh? No, but her mother is on that level of like the wire hanger references from Mommy Dearest and they're all going to laugh at you is from Carrie. But her mother is up there with those mothers as far as abusiveness is. Curly Girl says that assault on Kiyomi scene came out of nowhere. It was like, yeah, because they acted like they were going to be her new friends. They were so sweet to her and invited her to come hang out with them. And then they flipped the switch so fast to attacking her. It was really, really jacked up. Wostow, All of Us Are Dead didn't allude. Yeah, All of Us Are Dead actually showed not as bad as like something like I Spit on Your Grave or Savage Streets, but it definitely showed the essay in All of Us Are Dead. Oh, I should tell you a story about the first time I saw Ju-on. I think I still have, hold on, let me see. Give me a second. I'm going to look for the VCD because I know there's a bunch of people in here. They probably move this out of the way and see if I can get the VCD, and then I can tell you this story. I'm going to slide it back. I have a bunch of VHSs and VCDs in a box here. There it is. Well, that's part 2. Oh, no, here's the original. I'll show both of these. One day I'll have to do a DVD collection video. Of course, I'll have to take several videos. But this is... Actually, let me stop sharing the screen because it'll be easier for me to see on camera. This is a VCD. And a VCD is like a VHS, except for it has less storage space on it. So your movie actually comes on 2 discs. The first half of the movie is on one disc, and then the other half of the movie is on another disc. But they play in a VHS player. And what I used to do is when I used to live in New Haven, Connecticut, we used to take the train into the city, into New York, and go to Chinatown, because that's where you'd have to get these, because they didn't have these at a regular... you're not getting this at Blockbuster. That's the first one, and then I also have the sequel. Sorry, I'm not excellent with the green screen yet. But so I got these, and I was unfamiliar with the story at all. And actually, let me read a couple of these comments before they're too far. Bob says, I like the idea of the cursed house working kind of like generational trauma. This thing that happens at the house is continuing to cause trouble. Yes. VCD is a video cassette disc. Thank you. And yes, they do play in a DVD player. To piggyback off of what Bob said, sometimes you can, if you're sensitive, you can feel a negativity left in a place. I'll come back to that. Let me finish my Ju-on story, and I'll tell you about the negativity, feeling negativity in a certain place. When I first watched Ju-on, this is a funny story because it was when I had my wisdom teeth taken out, and when I had my wisdom teeth taken out, it wasn't under local anesthesia. They actually put me under, so I was knocked all the way out. And they told me to make sure I take my painkillers at a certain time so that the anesthesia wouldn't fully wear off and before the painkillers kicked in. So that was the state of me. And so I put this Ju-on VCD into the DVD player, and I was okay. And this is at night. This is probably like 9 o'clock at night because I think I had my wisdom teeth taken out sometime around 4 or 5 o'clock. And I couldn't sleep. I was swollen. I was sucking on popsicles. Couldn't eat solid food. And I put this on, and I'm good with horror movies. I'm used to horror movies. But for some reason, when Kayako started crawling down those stairs, I freaked out. I was like, turn it off, turn it off. It was probably one of only 2 movies that I've ever had to turn off in my life. I usually can finish any horror movie, but the 2 movies that I turned off because I got too scared was Ju-on, that night of having my wisdom teeth out and pretty much floating on painkillers and anesthesia. And the other time was when I want to say I was 19 years old maybe. And I tried to watch Event Horizon by myself at like 2 o'clock in the morning. Not a good decision. I had to turn it off. I got way too creeped out watching that. Way too creeped out. Now, second story I have, going back to Bob's point about, let me put that comment back up on the screen. I'm going to reread it. I like the idea of the curse house working kind of like generational trauma. This thing that happened at the house is continuing to cause trouble. Now I have a story about that. Once upon a time, I lived in Meriden, Connecticut, and I was renting this 2-bedroom apartment that was in a house. It was a house that had been converted into apartments. So I think it was converted into 3 apartments. And my purpose of getting the 2-bedroom was because I was going to use the other bedroom as my sewing studio. I never could get any work done in that studio for about almost, I would say 6 to 7 months, because I finished the lease out and moved, but 6 to 7 months in, I got no work done. I couldn't even set up my stuff in that room. It was just a negative, heavy feeling in that room. So then I talked to my aunt, and she was like, well, you could try cleansing the room. So, cleansing involves both like physically cleaning the room, but also you can use things like sage, you can burn sulfur. There's different ways that you cleanse a room. So as I was doing this and cleaning out the room, the first thing I found is a little girl's earring. So that was my first inkling. The next thing I found was a little note that was carved into the windowsill. And it was like, it said something like, the next time daddy leaves, I hope he never comes back. And I was just like, oh. So the residual negative energy that I was feeling in that room was from whatever happened to that little girl in that room. So to me, that's a real thing. Tony Man says her growl was creepy to me when I watched it. Yes, it's super creepy, especially when you understand why she makes that noise. She makes that noise that's like, let me see if I can do it. Creepy. Because the way she was killed, her trachea was smashed. So that's why she makes that noise. Curly Girl says, oh, I had 3 teeth taken out recently. Thanks for bringing back the memories. I've had so many teeth removed, it's not even funny. Like I had my wisdom teeth taken out, but I also had because my teeth were super crowded, I had 2 teeth removed up here and 2 teeth removed down here because I used to have, I don't know if you've seen like how people have that extra tooth up in the gums. I had that, and what they did is they removed the tooth behind it, and then when I got braces, it moved those 2 teeth that were up in my gums down. So as you see, my mouth still looks like I have a full set of teeth, but I really only have 28 teeth rather than 32. But it's because I have big teeth and a little jaw, so I still have a full mouth of teeth, even though I have less teeth than what I think you're supposed to have 32 teeth, and I only have 28 now. But yeah, that was the first 2 episodes of Hellbound and Ju-on. Well, I know Curly Girl and Tony Man watched both of these series. Have you guys also watched? Because after I do Hellbound and Ju-on, let me tell you, let me get my notes out because I have a whole list of TV shows that I want to cover. And the next ones after this, because on Thursdays, I'm telling you right now, I'm going to be on a whole like Asian kick on Thursdays. Because after I finish these 2, I also want to do All of Us Are Dead and Kingdom. Because All of Us Are Dead was a really, really, really good series. And so is Kingdom. And then after that, I would love to do Flower, Evil, and Mouse. If those, I can't even tell you. I haven't finished them yet. Because I'm putting those last because they're longer. They have like Flower Evil has 16 episodes and Mouse has 20 episodes, but they are so good. Like I can't wait to go back and finish those. I only watched like the first 4 or 5 episodes of both, and I didn't have time to finish it. Bob Gunter says, I also noticed in the show it seemed like all the bad stuff we hear referenced on news is connected to the house. This is true too. Yeah, I like how they did that. I just noticed your profile picture. Where do I know this creature from? Is that from Cabin in the Woods, the merman? That's a good profile picture. Curly Girl says, Kingdom is so good. I haven't watched All of Us Are Dead yet or those other shows you mentioned. All of Us Are Dead is also a webtoon. Let me see if I can find the cover for that. I started reading the webtoon for All of Us Are Dead. They really did like almost shot for shot. Let me This is the webtoon for All of Us Are Dead, and you can see how much they stuck to the source material really, really closely. Even some of the characters. I wish there was a side by side of this one, because there is a time in the TV show where she has that bandage on her head. Let me see if I can find. That's another great image. Oh, darn it, where'd it go? I just had it up there. Did it again. I don't know why I can't get this image. There we go. You can see the archers. The only thing is they didn't, I mean, obviously they're not going to do those same haircuts because they're really not this style right now, but they did everything really, really closely to the webtoon. And also the villain, well, multiple villains. There were two villains. It was that evil red hair girl and that guy that I forget his name, but he was so evil, but he made a great villain. But that evil red hair girl, she even, what did she kept calling them? She was calling people some type of name that meant like wealthy. She kept calling them wealthies because they were on welfare. Oh, it was so messed up. Okay, Tony Man says, All of Us Are Dead is a great series, better than Squid Games. You think it was better than Squid Games? I think they're about the same to me. I like them both equally well. Lovecraft. Are you talking about Lovecraft Country? Or are you talking about H.P. Lovecraft, the writer? I'm not sure what you mean. He says, I have the Innsmouth look. Oh, you're talking about that particular story, a Lovecraft story. Yeah. I think Innsmouth, isn't that one? There's a movie based on it. Is it called? Oh God, I can't remember the name of it. There's so many Lovecraft based movies, and you're going to see more of that because his he doesn't have or his family does not own any copyright over any of his work, which is fine to me because this dude was so racist. He actually named his cat the N-word. Like, he was super duper racist. So it's good to know that his family doesn't get any money off of his works. Well, I don't think he had any children anyways, but his work is now considered public domain. So you're going to see a whole lot more Lovecraft stuff. Curl Girl, when you watch the first 2 episodes of All of Us Are Dead, you'll be hooked. And she says, I definitely need to check it out then. Yeah, Wealthies. That's what she was calling. She was mad because she was, I guess, middle class, upper middle class, and she was mad that her apartment building allowed people, it would be tantamount to like what we have in America where some people have Section 8 and they're able to get a Section 8 voucher to live in the same apartment buildings with people who don't have a Section 8 voucher. So she was angry about that and kept calling the students whose parents had that wealthies, as in short for like being on welfare. And she was the biggest jerk. An interesting show for discussion on here would be Inside Number 9. I've not heard of that show. What is that show about, Bob? The writer, yep. Dogon, yeah, or Dagon. Yes, that's the movie title I was looking for, about Innsmouth, Dagon. It's a good actor. I agree. I think the best H.P. Lovecraft adaptations are probably Dagon. I like what they did with Castle Freak, even though it wasn't exactly like that. Lovecraft story is super short, so they actually expanded upon his short story, but I really like how they expanded upon the short story of Castle Freak, the original version, not so much the remake. The remake goes way off in another tangent. And technically, The Thing, even though The Thing is not a direct H.P. Lovecraft adaptation, there's so many elements in it that are H.P. Lovecraft that I still consider it a great adaptation. Yes, he was racist. Yeah, he was. She was also in Squid Games too. Oh, you're talking about the girl with the red hair. Yes. The girl that was the evil girl in All of Us Are Dead with the red hair played the total opposite type of character in Squid Games. She was a sweetheart. Very, very sweet character in Squid Games. Lovecraft racism stops me from reading any of his stuff. I do watch the movie adaptation, though. Mm-hmm. His stuff is not that great to read, honestly. Like, the concepts are very, very interesting because he's one of the earliest people to write about such things. So I do give him credit for that. But reading his stuff is kind of tedious. It's not as engaging as like reading Clive Barker or even Stephen King, which I really like reading Stephen King. He really knows how to draw you into a story. Another one, Anne Rice. Anne Rice, I like her. Dean Koontz. I haven't read Dean Koontz in a lot of years, so I don't know whether I would still enjoy him at my age now, but I read hella Dean Koontz when I was in high school. Oops. I feel like him and King are too wordy. King is wordy. Like King will take 3 pages to describe a table and then have that table mean nothing in the story. Like you were reading and reading about something, you're like, okay, well, this must mean something later in the story, and then it doesn't. He just took that time to talk about the table because he wanted to. And I'm like, okay. Who else have I read recently? Oh, Octavia Butler. Yeah, I was about to say Spencer at first. I was like, no, that's the actress. Octavia Butler is another one. I have to read her Parable of Sour. Am I saying it right? Parable of Sour series. I heard that one is really, really good. I'm working my way through. I just started reading Kindred. I'm about 1/3 of the way through Kindred, and her writing is very, very engaging. I want to read more of her, and of course, my co-host on Coast to Coast Horror, Crystal Connor. If you have not read her book, she has one of her first books called The Darkness, and you should check that out. Yes, Octavia. She says, "Oh, Curly Girl says, OMG, I love Octavia Butler. I'm enjoying her too so far." Bob says, "I'm surprised they have not made Drifting Classrooms again for TV." Brian says, "Off subject, I miss playing the Capcom Marvel SNK games in the 90s with everyone in the den, pizza, Sprite, Coke, Kool-Aid." I don't know which games that you mean. I bet you Tony Man knows, because he's the game person. He really just started a channel talking about gaming, maybe, or old school gaming, possibly, in sports. Curly says, yes, definitely read the Parable of the Sour series. Yeah, I keep hearing that. One of my friends was telling me that's his favorite book series. Charlene Harris. Yes, I do enjoy her too. I have her on my tablet. I don't think I have any physical copies of her books. I just have the Eve copies on my iPad. But I read her Sookie Stackhouse. Not every book in the series, but at least the first 3 or 4 books in the Sookie Stackhouse series, which became the True Blood series, by the way. Tony Man says, WWE. Do you mean the game, or do you mean, I don't know if you're referring to Brian's comment about the Capcom, or whether you're talking about what you should talk about on YouTube. Because I agree, if you want to talk about WWE, I think you should do it because you have the expertise. Curly Girl says, I'm still mad at how they tricked us into thinking that Antebellum was going to be. Oh my God, yes. Why did you remind me of that mess? That movie was such trash garbage. Basura. I hate it. It was, and it was such a waste of Janelle Monáe. What a waste of her talent to be in. Oh, they didn't even go sci-fi with it. Like I thought, in the trailer when they show her in the field and she looks up and she sees the plane, like that's what made you feel like, oh, it's this time travel. And then, which for those that don't know, Kindred is about time travel. So far, I haven't finished it yet, but so far it's about a Black woman time traveling back into history, and she actually comes in contact with her own ancestors. Brian says Marvel versus Capcom, and that's still about the games. I'm not familiar with that. You guys have to tell me more about that. Bob Gunter says it's a horror manga about the school of kids and teachers that get sent to a nightmare world of the future. Let me go back up. And you called that Drifting Classrooms? I always learn something from Bob. Let me see. Drifting Classrooms. Manga. Okay. Oh, Tony Man is talking about topics I should broach. Yes, the topics you should broach would be retro gaming, WWE, and possibly other sports that you enjoy watching or talking about. The biggest thing about, if you want to have content of your own is to make it something that you're actually passionate about, because you won't be able to sustain talking about something that you're only half-heartedly interested in. It has to be something that you actually are interested in and enjoy. Inside of number 9 would be fun because it's an anthology and they have great twists. Now, inside of number 9, I believe you mentioned that as a TV show. Where is that, or is that available for us to watch? Because there's certain shows I haven't covered yet just because they're not available for me to watch. Like, for example, Tales from the Dark Side. I would love to cover that, but I don't know where. I did a wide search on Roku and it came up with nothing. So it might be something I could find on YouTube. I'll have to look, because that's where I found Hitchhiker, by the way, which I'm covering tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm going to talk about the first 2 episodes of Hitchhiker and possibly the first 2 episodes of Freddy's Nightmares. Freddy's Nightmares is on Tubi right now, which I'm really excited about. I hope Tubi gets Tales from the Dark Side. And there's several people that have uploaded episodes from the Hitchhiker, like the original Hitchhiker from 1983. I think the series ran from 83 to 86. Might have ran longer. Okay, Bob Gunter says it's a BBC show, Inside number 9. Okay, Inside number 9, BBC. Okay. That reminds me of another show that I wanted to cover, but also don't have access to it right now. There was a show, it was on Channel 4 though, it wasn't on BBC, and it was called Misfits. I don't know if anyone remembers Misfits, but I thought it was a really, really good show. I just started watching Freddy's Nightmares. It's pretty good so far. Yeah, it's super, super low budget. They really didn't give them money to work with, but Freddy, I just have such nostalgia for Freddy's Nightmares. There's like certain TV shows I watched, and at that time that came out, I might have been in middle school. I'm pretty sure I was in middle school. So it was like the perfect time for shows like Freddy's Nightmares, Tales from the Dark Side. I started watching in elementary school. That was actually out when I was in elementary school. What else was out? Tales from the Crypt was out by then when I was in middle school. What else? I remember the first time I saw The Hitchhiker was at my uncle's house because he had HBO, and I don't think we had HBO at that time. We just had basic cable. So I was watching like USA Up all night at my house, but my uncle had HBO, and The Hitchhiker came on, and I remember him telling us to cover our eyes. You got to cover your eyes, because I guess there was a lot of sex scenes. But now watching it as an adult, yeah, there was a lot of sex scenes in The Hitchhiker. Speaking of BBC shows, I loved Misfits and Shameless. Yes, I tried several times to get into the American version of Shameless, and something was bothering me about it, and I didn't like it, and I finally figured out what it was. In the British version of Shameless, like when you meet the Gallagher family, you follow the Gallagher family, sometimes they don't always make the best decisions, but a lot of the times they typically are like the victims of circumstance, whether it's by birth, whether it's by location, where they're growing up, opportunity. Like the show really shows class struggles. The American show also shows class struggles, but I don't like how they frame it. The American show frames it as though every single thing that happens to the Gallaghers is their own fault, and they are living the way they are because they're bad people. And I don't like how they reframe that, because it's almost like you're saying that impoverished people are impoverished because of their own issues, when we know that there are environmental and outside structural issues that cause people to live in poverty. I think that's why the American version of the show rubs me the wrong way. Hope I made sense. I stopped watching Misfits after they got rid of the main guy. Yes. Who, incidentally, the main guy from Misfits now stars on, I'm drawing a blank. It's not Deadly. I keep on confusing these two together because I read both comics around the same time. There was Deadly Class, and what was the other comic? What was it called? It's a Netflix series that he stars on now. Somebody please tell me what Netflix series that I'm talking about, where his power set is that he can convene with the dead. but I cannot remember the name of. I can't remember the name of the TV show, even though I read the comic. But I keep thinking Deadly Class because I read both of those comics at the same time. Oh, somebody please tell me what show he's on. HBO Spawn cartoon. There's a Spawn cartoon on HBO? I didn't know that. I haven't seen the Spawn movie since it first came out. And my sister had those comic books. So we were really excited when it came out. Misfits is possibly streaming on Hulu. Oh, okay. He plays the psychic character in Umbrella. Thank you, Umbrella Academy. And Tony Man also said Umbrella Academy. Yeah, at the time I heard they were making a show, I ended up reading Deadly Class. Well, I didn't complete Deadly Class. I read like the first few maybe issues, but I did finish the first I don't want to call it issue. It's a graphic novel. I did finish the first graphic novel of Umbrella Academy, and it was I was going back and forth between reading Umbrella Academy and Deadly Class because they're kind of similar. And I ended up kind of liking. Here's what's weird: I liked the comic book of Deadly Class better than the graphic novel of Umbrella Academy, but I like the TV show of Umbrella Academy better than the TV show of Deadly Class. Let's see. Bob says he plays a psychic character in Umbrella Academy. Now he also is a decent David Tennant horror movie called Samaritan. I've heard of Samaritan. I didn't know it was a horror movie. For some reason, I thought it was like a thriller or something. I didn't know it was horror. The Spawn cartoon ran HBO 97 to 99. Oh. Didn't know that. Okay, so let me wrap things up because I'm going to get out of here soon. Let me reiterate that tomorrow I'm going to come back and talk about the first 2 episodes of The Hitchhiker, which I said just type in The Hitchhiker episode 1, The Hitchhiker episode 2, and it should come up on YouTube for you to watch for free. And then also Freddy's Nightmares is free to watch on Tubi. So I'm going to cover those tomorrow. And then on Monday, should I do it Monday or Tuesday? Let me check my calendar because I don't want to misspeak. I'm pretty sure I have it planned for Monday and not Tuesday, but let me just double check because I do make a calendar and try to plan a week ahead. Okay. What I'll do is I'll share my screen so you can see how little look behind the scenes of how I kind of do stuff. Okay, so it's not Monday, it's Tuesday. Yeah. I'm glad I went and looked. So for next week on Tuesday, I have Stranger Things. Let me make this larger so you can see. So Tuesday, actually Monday, I'm supposed to have a Bad Ben review. I don't know when will I be able to get to that? Make that a maybe. I may not be able to do it. I may be able to do it. I will see what I can do this weekend about Bad Ben, but I really wanted to review that. But definitely on Tuesday, we're going to do Stranger Things because that drops tomorrow on Netflix. I don't know whether it'll just be the first episode I can get to or how many. It depends on what I end up being able to do this weekend. And I'm definitely going to do the first episode of Chucky on Tuesday. Then Wednesday, we're going to continue on with From and Atlanta. Thursday, we're going to continue on with Hellbound and Ju-on. And then again, The Hitchhiker and Freddy's Nightmares. But yeah, I will see how far I can get with the Bad Bin movies. Because I've watched them. I just haven't been able to record reviews yet. Okay, let's see here. And to be honest, my favorite Misfit was Alicia. Her name is Antonia Thomas. I remember her. I wonder what happened to her. I haven't seen her in a lot of stuff, but I remember her. Yeah, the Spawn cartoon may still be on YouTube. It was on there years ago for free. That would be cool to check out. Keith said as Spawn. And Bobble says, Broadcast Signal Intrusion is a weird movie from last year. And told me, yes, Bad Bin Eulogy is a new Bad Bin that's supposed to come out on May 30th on video on demand. That's his newest Bad Bin, and that will be the 10th movie, I believe the 10th movie in the Bad Bin series. If you guys don't know what Bad Bin is, go to Tubi and check out the Bad Bin series. Like almost, I think the first 8 movies are on there. Yeah, or is it 7? Either the first 7 or 8 movies are available to watch for free on Tubi. He also has on his YouTube channel, the director's name is Nigel Batch. I'll type it in here so you guys know how to spell it. Nigel Batch. He has a YouTube channel in which he does have a Christmas short film that ties into the Bad Bin series. And then the 9th movie you have to pay for. It's like available for like $1.99 on YouTube. And then the 10th movie comes out this Monday on the 30th. But it's an amazing found footage series in which this gentleman recorded the whole thing in his house just using his security cameras and his cell phone. And it's really ingenious. And his character is endearing because he's just like the guy next door, everyman type of guy and he's very New Jersey, super New Jersey. So he says, I won't let me Pluto TV on here for. It won't let me Pluto TV on here for the Misfits suggestion. I'm not sure what you mean. Do you mean that the Misfits is on Pluto? I don't know why you're writing it that way because I think you can just write Pluto TV, which is also a free app to watch movies. The reason why I don't use Pluto that much and I gravitate more towards Tubi is Pluto plays a lot of commercials and Tubi doesn't. Tubi plays less commercials. I meant to type Keith David as Spawn. I'm using speech to text. Bad spelling rule. Okay, no problem. I like Keith David. Keith David will always be a G for that fight scene in They Live with him and Roddy Piper. Keith David is amazing. And also The Thing. He was in The Thing. Yeah. I always feel like, what's his name? Oh, what's his name from Ghostbusters? He played Winston in Ghostbusters. I feel like he is like the great value version of Keith David. I like him. And I love him playing Winston, but he always gives me, the person you get if you can't get Keith David. Kind of like James Woods is the person you get if you can't get Peter Weller. Yes, I wrote it twice and it didn't show. Oh, well, that's odd. Yeah, his movies are not great, but it's cool. He made them himself and they look fine from what I've seen. Yeah, they're not, top of the line, but for what they are, they're entertaining. I mean, I have fun watching them. And with that, let me put the bumper at the end of this. I played last week. I have to apologize. Last week, I accidentally played the wrong one because it didn't have the right names at the end of the video. And that's my bad. Let me see if I have the correct one to play this time. Yeah, this is the correct one. I'm going to. Keith David was awesome in Something About Mary and Dead Presidents. Yes, he was. Keith David was the president in Rick and Morty. Oh, I didn't know that. I have to get caught up on that show because every time I see clips of Rick and Morty, they're funny as hell. The only episode I saw was when they had to compete in this singing contest to save the Earth from these giant floating heads that were going to destroy the Earth, and they were singing this rap song, "Get Swifty." Pull down your pants. Yeah, I can't say the rest of the line because it's really, really nasty. But that was a funny episode to me. Okay, and with that, I'm going to say good night. Thank you for watching. I should say kamsahamnida and domo arigato, since we went to Korea and Japan this week. And I will see you next week.
Hey, 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 hey.